Ready?
Hi, welcome to the Special K Unwrapped podcast. My name is Juelz, and with me is Kristy Graham Kumabe. Well, you have to be here. You got no choice. It's named after you.
I'm not even paid to be here.
Yeah, neither actually. Hello, how are we?
Good morning.
Now we've got the giggles at the moment because when we organise to do a podcast, we go, oh, what are we going to talk about? What's our topic? And yesterday I said, oh, what's our topic? And Kristy messaged me, let's talk about how Rue and I met, which Rue is Kristy's husband. And I, being at work, I was trying to multitask and thought she wrote, let's talk about how you and I met. Talking about me. And I'm thinking, what? Like, I reckon that would be a 5-minute podcast.
Probably.
So
you just want to share that then?
Yes.
Start disgusting.
I was like racking my brain of like, oh my, how are we going to make this, extend a little bit further? But no.
Well, it was funny because when you messaged, I was talking to someone and they literally just asked me how Rue and I met.
Yeah.
And I told them very briefly, and this I would do exactly what I did with them today, but
okay.
Told them very briefly, and I said, yeah, but there's a bit of a backstory, and I went back and they were just like, you have to share this. Like,
okay. All right. Well,
this is good fun.
Now, Rue,
good fun, gruesome. Lots of goodies.
Rue's your husband.
Yes.
You've got 3 beautiful
Beautiful boys
together. Yeah. All right. So should we go back to the start, or do you want to talk about, you guys? How long have you guys been married for?
We have been married for 11 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And
11 years.
Should we go back to when you guys first met? What you were doing before that, or?
So yeah, we'll go to the middle, shall we?
Sure. Let's go to the middle.
Let's go to the middle.
And we'll go either way. Back further, or
back and then come back to where we are.
Okay. What happened in the middle?
We actually met here on the Sunshine Coast.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people, that's the first reaction I get. They're like, oh, didn't expect that.
Yeah.
So Rue was head chefing at a high-class Japanese restaurant here on the Sunshine Coast. And I was going with someone else who I was with at the time. Here we go.
Yeah.
To that restaurant for dinners a lot because it was really nice food.
Oh, Japanese food is my favorite cuisine.
It's just beautiful. And obviously this was many, many years ago.
Yeah.
So my partner at the time was a Japanese guy.
Oh, okay.
And we were going into that restaurant for dinners and whatever.
Yeah.
And because we spoke Japanese, we met the staff and became quite good friends with all the staff. And that's how I met Rue. So we were very good friends.
Right.
He was with someone else at the time, a long relationship, long-standing relationship. And I was also in a relationship.
Yeah.
From then we stayed really, really good friends.
So you guys would like hang out after, like you wouldn't, it was more than just going into the restaurant.
Yeah, so we'd go to dinner and then we'd hang out afterwards and stuff, and they'd close up and the staff would come out and we'd have drinks and that sort of thing. So we got to know the staff, and then, like even out of there, like if they'd had a Christmas party or something, we would go to their Christmas party. Like we got really close with them.
Yeah.
So that's how we met and became really good friends.
Yeah,
so he was with someone else and I was with my partner at the time. Anyway, I actually it wasn't that long afterwards. I never actually got engaged to this guy. It was just sort of somehow we just decided for some reason. I think I got manipulated into getting married.
Wait, did he propose?
No.
Oh, okay.
So it's very strange.
Yeah. It's
now
like,
that I reflect,
Yeah.
So, and I was a bit young and stupid.
Yeah.
And I think I was a bit starstruck and bedazzled because he was a bit older.
Yeah.
And, he was very much into, the Louis Vuitton handbags
Yeah.
and this and that, always decked out in brands and
Yeah.
and whatever. So I think now that I reflect back, I was just young
and dumb.
Young and dumb. Yeah,
we all
literally.
were, right?
And then, we actually got married.
What?
And so this is my second marriage.
To Rue?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I got married to that guy.
Yeah. Wait, did you want to? Because I'm just talking like, because you're like, about the engagement, you're like, oh, you're manipulated into that.
I just think now that I just sort of rolled with it. Like, I think, like, I was never, when I look back now, like knowing how I feel now, I was probably never really happy or never really actually into it. I think I've just sort of rolled with it.
And then one of those things where you're like, oh, we've been together for this long, however long you guys were together.
That long, but I think just because, and I'll get back to sort of, I'll go back a bit further as well, but I just sort of rolled with it, and I knew I was doing the wrong thing. And I think I told you actually only very close to the wedding. I actually said to my mum, I'm doing the wrong thing. Like I shouldn't. And she's like, well, it's too late now.
And it's one of those things where I feel like
I understand why she said that because, it could have been nerves or whatever, but I was genuinely saying, I'm doing the wrong thing. Like, I shouldn't be here.
That's what I was about to say. Like, I feel like, every bride and groom would probably have those feelings. And it's like, not, but just that, is it nerves or is it, you'd be questioning, like, questioning your own thoughts of like, is this just nerves or am I actually doing the wrong thing?
Yeah, no, I knew I was doing the wrong thing. And I had very close friends say, Kristy, like, what are you doing? But hey, like, see it all the time, young, and then just sort of go through with it and whatever. These things happen. But keeping it all about Rue was actually at our wedding.
Yeah, right. Wait, did you invite your ex to yours and Rue's wedding?
Did you invite your ex to yours?
Imagine that. I mean, obviously you're not friends with your ex-husband now.
No. He's here in Australia, but I have no idea where he is or what he's doing. I haven't spoken to him.
So you guys all
I haven't spoken to him pretty much since we got married.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Wait, how long did this marriage last?
Not even 12 months.
Yeah.
So that's how, like,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So that's pretty, proof in the pudding. It was not meant to be. Like, as soon as we got married, I was like,
what the hell did I just do?
How do I tear up?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Oh, gosh. What a predicament to be in, because, I mean, we all know weddings are fucking expensive. And probably at the time, we've spoken about being people pleasers as well too. You were probably more like, I don't want to inconvenience everyone else that I've just invited to my wedding, the money, everything that's involved.
So things went down real quick with that, and we split up really quickly. Because things got really messy, really yucky very quickly. I put up with it for a little while. I spun into a very negative cycle because it's very stressful.
Of course.
And my best friend at the time who helped me through it was Rue.
Yeah.
So we got really close, and he was with someone else, so it wasn't anything like that. He ended up splitting up with his longtime partner because she went overseas, and then I split up with obviously my partner.
Yeah.
And there was some time there that we were just good friends.
Yeah.
But he knew my family. I already knew his family. And, and then we grew closer and closer. And then I don't even know where... I was just about to ask me.
Was there a moment where it was just like, a little...
I should ask Rue if there was something that happened or whatever. And I think, we literally just spent every day together as friends to start off with. And then it just changed. But because it changed and we knew each other so well, I'd helped him through a breakup, he'd helped me through a breakup, we'd been through business changes, we'd seen each other at our worst, pretty much. So when we got together, it literally felt like we'd been together forever. I knew him as a friend, as a partner, as it's seen all sides of him, and he'd seen all sides of me too, when I'm at my highest high and when I was at my lowest low. So when we got together, it just literally felt like we'd been together forever. We just knew so much about it, and it was just and we just knew, that.
I feel like, you just know. When you know, you know. When you'll just do anything, you'll put up with it. You're not put up with anything, but I know there's a lot of forgiveness when it comes to relationships, and I feel like
when you know, and like someone said to me recently, a good friend of mine, and he said, you know, if you want someone in your life, you've got to know that they're not perfect and you need to love every side of them.
Yeah.
And even though there'll be sides of them that you are making yourself love or learning to love, you've got to take the good with the bad, and you've got to decide essentially whether the good parts outweigh the bad, and whether you're willing to sacrifice that little bit to have them in your life and put up with that. Exactly, 100%. Put up with that little bit that, you know, you don't necessarily like.
A lot of sacrifices in relationships. I'm laughing because so when my partner and I come and train with you, or even when I just come and train with you, and a lot of the times you're like, how's everything going? I'm like, I'm leaving. And I threaten. No, it's not a real threat. But like, I'm so, and I feel like this is the reason why I was out of a relationship for so long, because I'm fucking selfish. I like things done my way. And I don't like putting other people through that. So I always remained single. And I told my partner, Mark, that I was like, look, you're just going to have to bear with me while I adjust, because I'm selfish as all shit. So when he does something I don't like, I'll address it. And it will essentially be, I don't like this, and if it doesn't change, I can't stay.
I'm out of here.
And I mean, I say it a lot, and I'm like, and I've had to, you know, pull myself up on it, because it's just, you know, he now says it to me, are you going to leave?
I think I've heard him say that in our feeds.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Leave? And I'm like, don't, and I'm so stubborn that I fucking will. And then a couple of days, but come back. So I know that's what is going to be the end result. So now I'll just go, I'm too lazy. Selfish and lazy.
I'm going to come back.
Exactly.
So I can't be bothered to pack my shit and then carry it out and then carry it back in again.
That's why we always have a spare room.
I'm leaving.
Yeah, to the next bedroom. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, a lot of sacrifices. So, okay.
A lot of sacrifices.
So you guys have been married for 11 years. What was it like to, when Rue proposed to you? Like, were you like, shit, I don't like, even as sure as you were that this was the one, you had already made that
Rue,
mistake,
I've never had any feeling like I did with the other relationship or marriage or whatever. Like, it's, and then, you know what, I've never, you know, we've all had obviously different partners throughout your life. I've never met anyone like him. Like, have I ever said a bad word about him? Like,
can anyone say a bad thing about Rue?
I actually usually just say he's just an angel. Like, he's just, and you know, he has his moments, like he gets angry with the kids, or, you know, he'll pull me up or whatever, but definitely got to do with his upbringing and his dad, which I've said in the previous podcast, we lost his dad, but he has so many qualities of what his dad had. And his dad, and like, think about a Japanese culture. Like, if you don't know much about the Japanese culture, years and years and years ago, it was a very male-dominant society. You know, the wife would always walk behind the male. Like, you know, the male is the breadwinner. The woman is at home with the kids. She does as she says. So it was a very male-dominated. And although that has changed a lot in Japan, it's still there a little bit, especially with the older generations, right? But Rue's dad was very much not like that. So already Rue's mum is, we're getting a little bit off track, but I think it gives a good understanding of what Rue is like and why he's the way he is. So Rue's mum, when she was a baby, got polio. And like when she was a baby, because that generation got polio, and she underwent a surgery. I think she was 10 months old. Like a spinal surgery that had never been performed in Japan before. Anyway, because she had lost control of all of her limbs as a baby. Anyway, they did a surgery, and it was so successful that now even all of her life, so she actually has not much use of her left arm, so she's disabled. You would never know. Like, I've just got covered in goosebumps. She's incredible. Like, she sews all the kids' clothes. She now obviously lives by herself.
Yeah.
Incredible woman. You would never ever know that she doesn't have use of her left arm. Like you wouldn't even see it. You wouldn't pick it up.
Yeah.
But, you know, so she's disabled. But then when her and Dad met, like he chased her and he promised her that he would do everything for her. He would be her left arm.
Yeah.
And I've heard him say that.
Yeah.
You know, so he would do, and in Japan they work so freaking hard. In Asian countries, they're insane, right?
Yeah.
They leave
Work
early in the morning.
ethic is next level.
Work ethic, you know, we work hard, but we're lazy fucks compared to them. Right?
Yeah.
So Dad would, and I've, you know, spent many times in their house, and so I've witnessed it. He would go to work. He ran his own animation production company.
Really?
Yeah, Ruth's dad, and did quite a few big name animations.
Yeah.
So he's quite known in that, and he would travel around the world with animation production and that. Anyway, so he would do massive days, and he would come home at night straight away, go and have a shower. He's a very, very clean cut man.
Yeah.
Go and have a shower, clean up, so he would come in and give Mum a massage, make her dinner, and like from an Asian background as well, you're like, no.
Usually it's the other way around.
Yes, like, yep, come home, here's your dinner, like this is this, blah, blah, blah.
That's what I'm like with Mark.
No, and you can see...
But to be real, I actually am like that with Mark.
Yeah,
I look after him like a typical, and I'm going to say it, like, you know, a Filipino little wife. But that's my way of showing him love.
That's your way of showing him love, and that makes you feel good too, right?
Yeah.
Seeing someone else happy.
Although I do expect, you know, some appreciation. I take $100 bills as a thank you.
I like the green ones.
No, but I do look after him. But that is from watching my mum, because it's still in her culture, right? To look after the male.
You've watched. So Rue was brought up in this household where his dad really loved and showed his mum that he cared for her. Yeah. He would look after her. He would be her left arm. Yeah. And he truly did. Yeah. Like, you'd see it, like, and this is why I say, like, you would never know. Like, if you were sitting at the dinner table and say they had crab, like, she can't do the crab, right? Or prawns or anything, even cutting. Oh, don't say that. Cutting stuff up.
He prepares the food for her.
Everyone would sit down and without anyone noticing, and I loved watching this, he would just grab her plate, boom, cut everything up, prepare it, give it back, and then go to his.
That's my dream.
So he was doing that for forever.
Yeah.
You know,
since they met.
Since they met.
Yeah.
Until he passed. So Rue was brought up in that household. Yeah. And he has that trait, like just the way he treats me, he looks after me. Like and I always say, like, I'm so lucky. I've never met anyone like that. And like, my dad definitely isn't like that.
Well, just I was about to say, what was it, you know, going from Rue's, you know, back childhood, growing up, and then his household, what was your household like growing up?
Can we turn it off now?
No, but I was like...
Did you just see my eyes twitch?
I was like, you know, we you know, when talking about this podcast, doing this podcast, we were like, you know, it is, we are going to talk about those uncomfortable things. Yeah. I didn't know that this was uncomfortable, by the way, but I noticed that
uncomfortable.
You were
like, oh, here we go, it's coming. Okay, so that's how Rue and obviously I'm sure they had marital problems. Yeah. And Rue's mum has told me about a time that Rue's dad came home and she packed up all her shit and hid in the cupboard and pretended she had left. Oh, we have to put this one in. We need to put this Japanese subtitles on this one so that she can watch it. She would be killing it. She's so lovely. She's so lovely.
I don't know if my skills are there in Japanese subtitles yet.
Something you could do. You just pack up your shit and just hide in the cupboard so you don't have to...
To be honest, I've got that much clothes that a lot of my shit is in storage anyway, or in storage containers or suitcases still. But I always look like I'm ready to go. So shocking. Anyway,
so Ruth, I will come back to mine.
Okay, because I'm not letting you get away with this.
And just to make even more of a comparison, so Rue's dad, how he disciplined the children, he would sit you down and talk to you until you literally fall asleep. Like, it's just... Talk through it. And Rue always said, like, you'd sit there and your mind was completely elsewhere because he just won't stop.
But
like,
how calming it was, like in a calm way.
You'd sit there and just, like, it'd be so going on. Mine was, he'd just throw a knife at you.
Yep. Shit. What's Rue like with the kids? Does he do what his dad do?
He does what his dad does,
Yeah.
but not to the extent of what Rue said that. But sometimes I do watch and I just giggle because I see the boys just going like, la, 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 la.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You just got to stop, and Rue's like, oh. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you are so your dad.
Yeah, and he probably doesn't even see it either. He
doesn't see it. But I actually love it because I'm a bit fiery because of my upbringing, definitely.
Yeah.
And I've had to really calm that down because I didn't want that in my family.
Yeah.
I wanted to break that fiery cycle of the way that was parented.
Girl, I get it, yeah.
So my mum was never like that. She was quite calm. And Dad worked in the Navy and in the shipping industry as an engineer. So he was pretty much FIFO, right? So he'd be away and ever since I could remember, like even since I was a baby, he was either in the tugs or the shipping industry.
Right.
And so he'd be away for 6 to 8 weeks at a time.
Okay.
And then he'd come home for 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Now that's hard on a family, especially on a wife who lives on a farm, raising animals, kids. You know, completely isolated from whatever. So
and a small town too, right? Because you grew up in a really small place.
Like there was only like 300 people in the town. So you know, there's no shopping centre or anything like that. So
no retail therapy.
When I look back at it, like I take my hat off to my mum what she did.
Yeah.
And you don't realise when you're a kid.
You don't.
But when I look back, I think far out.
Yeah.
So she would have 6 to 8 weeks of owning the household, controlling the household, doing the kids, doing the farm, doing the animals, doing everything.
Yeah.
And then Dad was a very male dominating man.
Yeah.
Quite controlling.
Like toxic masculinity.
Yep. And I'm happy to say that, and he'll probably watch this. But he would come home from work and he would be the head of the household. So everyone would have to take a step down, right? And that's hard.
Yeah, when you, really
absolutely. Hard. And obviously as a kid, I didn't see how this was happening. And I think the hardest was Mum and my eldest brother. Yeah. Because when Dad was away, and, you know, we're talking 8 weeks, so that's 2 months. It's a long time. Yeah. You know, Mum was a single mum, essentially. Yeah. And my eldest brother would step up.
To be the dad.
To be a male role, right? But then the lion comes home and the cub has to sit back into place. Yeah. Obviously, that's going to, you know, cause problems.
A bit of rift.
Yeah. And then Mum and Dad obviously had battles as well. But Dad was I'm just going to say he was an angry man. Yeah. You know, and the way he disciplined us as kids was honestly the complete opposite of what I hear Rue's family, the way they disciplined the kids. Yeah. So it was very, very much raised voices. You know, if you back-chatted, if you said shut up, you'd have a bar of soap down your throat, in your teeth, and scrub through your mouth so fast you wouldn't know what to do. Like you'd be in a headlock with a bar of soap in your mouth. Yeah. You know, and there's, you know, if you scratch or do something with your knife and fork, like it was all about that, you know, he'd grab his knife and slam it into the middle of the table and say, I've told you that's not what you do, you know. So
very aggressive. Like
very aggressive. But did it put me in a good place, like as manner and respect and that of how I was brought up? Maybe. Like I'm not regretful of that upbringing. Well, I think I learned a lot from it, but I definitely knew that when I had kids, I didn't want that. But as you say, you mimic how you were brought up. You mimic your parents. So especially with that first marriage, I was definitely mimicking Mum and just being quiet and just doing as I told. 100% mimicking. Yeah. And then when I had kids, I realized that I had turned into my dad.
Yeah.
And I was very angry.
Yeah.
I was like, you sort of like,
I'm like,
wow,
oh, because
like
I can't see that angry. Like,
Rue will back me on this. I had some times there that I was going off my trolley, like verbal, like, you know, to little kids. And I remember one day, a couple of times Rue's like, you've taken that too far. Like you're getting too angry, like getting too worked up. And I'm like, I can't control it. Like I'm so fucking mad.
Yeah.
Like, and they've done something so little, like when I think about it now, and they're kids, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I remember one day I got so mad at the middle boy, and I hope he doesn't remember this. And I was so mad.
Yeah.
And I looked at him as I was yelling at him, and the fear on that boy's face. Yeah. I was like, I just stopped in my tracks, and I saw myself.
Yeah.
I saw myself in him. Yeah. Just fucking shit scared of my dad. And I was like, look at me, covered in goosebumps. And I just went, oh my God, I'm my dad. Yeah. I got to stop. Yeah. I have to stop right now. Yeah. Right now I have to change. Yeah. Anyway, so I literally stopped mid-sentence and I scared myself. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I'm traumatizing this kid. Yeah. Like, and this kid is like, I love my kids so much. Yeah. Anyway, so I said to Rue that day, I was like, from today on, I'm not that person anymore. Yeah. I'm going to be calm. Yeah. I'm going to be patient, and whatever. I have to be different. I have to change, and I did. Yeah. Like that fear in that boy's face just wiped me.
Enough to change you.
Yeah. But you know what? It takes something like that, and it just shows the power of your upbringing to what you will naturally become.
Learned behaviors.
If you let it.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And to change it is so hard.
Yeah. That's all. I mean, yeah, it is, like, you know, especially when you've learnt this behaviour from a very young age. You know, it is one of the hardest things, but you know, it is because it is a learnt behaviour. It can be unlearned as well too. And
absolutely, but you have to make.
But it is difficult still.
Yeah. You have to make a really hard, conscious decision that you are going to change, and sometimes it takes something rock bottom or something really distressing for you to go. Yeah. Whoa.
But like, you know,
there has to change.
There are people that never get to that point either. You know, you like your dad. Never saw that, never had that realisation of what was happening. And it was probably from a learnt behaviour from his mum and dad.
Very possible. Yeah. Very possible. Like, I think he does realise now, because he's definitely, I mean, you know what? Oftentimes it's either a really big health scare or whatever, and he did have a very big health scare quite some years ago, and he went in and had a quadruple bypass and some stents and whatever. Since that surgery, he has definitely changed.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely.
Just his outlook on life?
Just his outlook on life. And like even just little things that he says to me, like, as long as you're happy. Yeah. You know, how's Rue and the boys, as long as they're happy. Yeah. You know, so definitely he has calmed down and placided out, and completely different. Yeah. You can still see he has that fiery side, but he definitely has a different outlook on life and the way that he treats people, and is willing to learn and change and accept people and for who they are, not who he wants them to be.
Just thinking about it, I'm not diagnosing or anything like that, but like, you know, just because, you know, you saying that him being away for so long, and, you know, talking about, you know, back in the day where those roles where, you know, the man was the man of the house, and him being away for that amount of time would make him feel like even though he was providing financially for the family, he wasn't there, you know, physically and mentally there for the family and emotionally. That when, you know, I'm assuming that, you know, when he did come home, it was almost like a exaggerated version
I need to take control of this. I need to be the man.
I am the man of the house. That it was just like 1,000% more than what it probably normally would be if he was around. Like, you know,
I think that could be definitely like a natural instinct to do that as a man. Like, we're animals, right? Yeah. So
got to protect my calves. Got to you know, instill everything to them and teach them, make sure they behave, because when he's not there,
and there's definitely a hierarchy in every family.
Yes. Yeah.
There is, like, even in our family, like, you know, people probably think I wear the pants, whatever. I don't. And everyone knows, and I say openly, honestly, Rue would let me do anything. As long as I'm happy, he supports me, whatever. But I know if he goes, hey, Kristy, I sit down and listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know that what he's got to say, he's had a good think about and he's thought about how he's going to say it.
Yeah.
And I just say, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't do it all the time.
Yeah.
And I have so much respect if he stands up and goes, hey, I think you should look at this.
Yeah.
Or maybe think twice about this.
Yeah.
Or what do you think about this? Or I don't like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How good is it to have someone like that in your life, you know?
Yeah.
To pull you, like, to, you know, pull you up when you need to be.
To pull you up when you need to be. Like, I've got like the whole rope to run with, but every now and again he'll go, oi, what do you think? And I know that because it's not like that every single day, I totally respect that.
Yeah. What great communication skills you
So it
have.
is communication. And you know what, like we do communicate really well, but there are times that, and it's probably my wrongdoing, and I've said that to him as well, like pull me up to communicate more because I get so wrapped up in what I'm doing and so busy and whatever that I was just like, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And he'll go like, you didn't tell me you were going to do that. Not that he cares, because I just want to know.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, oh, I just forgot.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and I think that sort of comes from my upbringing as well, because dad wasn't around. So mum would just go ahead and do everything. And I'm used to just seeing mum just get on with it and do it. Which now I take my hat off. Like, she was incredible. But I sort of do that too, even now. Like, and it was like, oh, like, what are you doing? So now I try, and if we meet up in the morning, if we cross over in the morning, I try and say, oh, today I've got this and this and this. And that's a fairly recent thing for me to try and implement.
I think a lot of people that would be watching or listening right now would be like, because I was like, holy shit, that's what I do. We almost go into autopilot, right? Where you don't talk about, you know, you don't communicate. And we've all heard it before, like just how important communication is in relationships. Whereas I find that, and it is, but comprehension is also just as important. You can communicate all you fucking like, but if your partner isn't comprehending what you're actually trying to communicate, then it's pointless, right? I thought I'd just throw that in there. I think it's like, if you're not willing to understand what your partner's saying either, like you know, when Rue comes to you and says, hey, Kristy, I need to talk to you about something, you are listening, actively listening to understand, you know, not just listening to, you know.
They have this analogy in Japanese. And they talk about the catch ball. Like when you're playing.
I just wish I was Japanese. I mean, I love being Filipina, but I just like,
Japanese
but everything about, you know, the Japanese culture and all that I know of is just incredible. Like, it's just beautiful. Everything about it is beautiful. Like, if I could choose anywhere to live in the world, it'd be Japan for sure.
And the food.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry, go back to this thing.
Yeah, so Ruth's got a friend staying with us at the moment, and we were talking about some things that I've been going through. And we were talking about communication, whatever. And he said, in Japan, we talk about playing catch ball. And he goes, you can usually we talk about it to explain good communicational skills. So if you're playing catch ball, you have a mitt, you know, so the baseballers, you have a mitt and a ball. And if you and I are playing catch ball, and I throw you the ball, so I'm communicating with you, you can't catch that ball until it arrives. Right? So we often, what's that saying where you say you're listening to respond rather than listening to comprehend?
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So, and this is where this analogy comes in. He's like, you can't catch the ball until it arrives to you. You can't catch it midair. So you have to listen until the ball arrives. Then you have to catch it in the mitt, secure it, take it out of the mitt, and throw it back. So that's good communicational skills. You listen right to the end. You comprehend, you prepare, and then you respond. Right? And then he said, but you also have the option of whether you catch that ball or not. So if someone's communicating like abuse or anything like that, you can go, that's a curveball, not catching it. And let it go, like a fly ball. But I loved that analogy that you can't catch the ball midway. You know, so you have to, and I've been thinking
that's me. I'm like already running towards the ball.
How can I fly myself up and grab it?
And catch it quicker.
And then just throw that fucker back. You know, but it's actually made me stop. Like when he said that, I was like, wow, I really love that, because my mum, and yet another upbringing thing, mum overtalks everyone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I have that tendency of
So
doing
do
that.
I. And you guys are probably listening and watching going, you guys fucking have it. We do it a lot too. But
Yeah, we do. But, and I've said recently, I want to be better at listening.
Yeah.
Listening, comprehending, preparing, and then giving back. So, and this has been going on for some months. Like I really want to learn to be better at listening.
Yeah.
And then
it's
then
a fucking
responding.
skill.
Yeah. And I feel like Rue and I communicate better recently than we ever have.
Yeah.
Because I actually let him finish what he's saying.
Yes. I'm so glad you're going through this stage at the moment, because so am I.
I was terrible. But I think like quite a few things that I've been through recently, which is with other people in my life that have been very heated conversations and that sort of thing, has made me realize how much I overspeak. I think it's good that you're confident. You have that confidence to speak up, but I also realized that no, you need to let the ball come to you and then prepare it to throw back. And that analogy really hit home with me.
Yeah, it hit home with me too. I like to be very self-aware. So I like to analyze myself a lot of like, you know, my reactions to things, especially if something affects me, as to why, you know, I do it. And I, for years, and I don't know if this is how you felt as well too, but that like interrupting when your partner's speaking, or it's a learnt behavior.
It is a learnt behavior, and it's habitual.
And but it's a learnt behavior that I recognize that protects my inner child, right? And it's a defense mechanism. It's a jump in before, you know, anything escalates, or jump in to defend yourself before, you know, you're accused of something. And it's and that learnt behavior takes, you know, I've been working on that bitch like for a fucking year. I'm still,
it's really hard.
Nowhere close
really
to where
hard.
I want to be with it. However, I'm closer than where I was a year ago of not reacting in ways that are a learnt behavior from my childhood. Far out, yeah.
That's a really hard one. Yeah.
Therapy, like seriously, no amount of therapy. Would, it's not a quick fix thing. It's something that you have to be forgiving of yourself every time you don't either, you know?
So maybe think of the catchball.
Yeah, that's why I'm just like,
really
it's
hit home with me. I was like, wow, that's true. Yeah. So something I've been working on. But that definitely, it's something that's come up and helped even more with our communication. Should we go back to what we're supposed to be talking about?
Just before we move on, I want to talk about, and it's only a conversation that I had with my partner this morning. It does relate to you.
Yeah, it does relate to you. Don't worry, Kristy, it's all about you.
My partner Marcus is going through he's becoming very aware of his own behaviours, right? And so lately, he's been pulling me up a lot on my behaviour. And one of the things I do is I can be very passive aggressive.
No.
So, but I'm aware of it, right? Yeah. I'm aware of it. But I need to be, more mindful of. I need to be more mindful of it because it's a pain in the freaking ass. However, I was talking to him this morning. We'll communicate. We're laying in bed, and I liked when we talk about what we need from one another to be happy.
Yeah.
And lately I've been picking up a lot of the pieces in our household and in our relationship. I've had to do, and I call them the pink and blue jobs. So I do a lot of the feminine things, and I do all the masculine things, which I hate doing the masculine things, right? And and when I say masculine, I know it might sound sexist, but mowing lawns, taking the bins out, all that kind of stuff. I hate it because I had to do that for so long when I'm being on my own. And when I wanted to be in a relationship, I wanted to take away my masculinity And so I could feel safe enough to bring out that feminine energy, right? And be more of a loving and kind woman, or partner. So this morning, I was like, I need you to really step up your masculinity, because I'm struggling to be that nurturing partner. So I want to know, when it comes to you and Rue, do you guys have that conversation, or, what are those things that you need in your life that you ask from Rue, that makes your life easier?
I think, like I touched on it before, he's so supportive of me, especially with his bodybuilding. It's not an easy feat, and it's a selfish feat. He's so supportive of me, and he picks up a lot of pieces with that. But he does step up in that masculine role. And listening to you talk about that, one of my girlfriends shared this, and I'll share it on the special Instagram page. It was a beautiful Instagram, one of those things that pops up, speaking, motivational speech, whatever. But it talked about how a woman, what she looks for in a man. Yeah. And I can't remember it word for word, so I will post it straight after we release this episode. But it was I am an independent woman. I like to do, what I want to do, and I will stand up for myself, but I want my man to be a man. Yeah. And I think what it was getting at is, even though we are strong, we're independent, and we look like we have it together, and we could take on the world, and we could be a man or a woman if we wanted to be. But deep down inside, we want to be treated like a little princess.
Yeah, 100%.
We want to be treated like a little princess. Even looking like this, I want to be treated like a little princess. Yeah. If I'm in the kitchen, I want to cuddle.
Yeah, exactly.
I want a little crown on my head every now and again.
Yeah, you got plenty out there.
But you want a man to step up as a man.
Absolutely.
And I think inside, even, a woman who's really quite feminist still has that instinctual inside that the man is the man. Yeah. And even though you are strong and independent woman, you still want to feel safe and protected. Yeah. And that's that masculinity that is so attractive.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Right? Yeah. So, that security within themselves, that, I've got this. Yeah. And I've got you. Yeah. You want to feel that.
Absolutely.
And I just have that with Rue so much. He's so secure within himself that doesn't matter where I go or what I do, I know he's not worried about me. Yeah. Yeah. And I think other men see it in him as well. They're just he's just so secure. Yeah. 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 And I think that's an attractive masculine trait that absolutely that we want as a woman. Yeah. Yeah. So that's to me, that always just blows me away, especially when you compare to other men that you're around.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, I just thought I would
but we'll share that.
Do you want to go back? So what were you wanting to go back to?
Rue and I, so I've explained how we met. Yeah. And we were together for some time, but as soon as we got together, it felt like we'd been together forever. And we both love kids. Yeah. I knew his family very well. He knew my family very well because we've been such good friends.
And you guys didn't have kids in your other relationships?
No, neither of us.
Yeah, no. Okay. What a blessing.
Thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for that. Yeah. Clean start. Yeah. But we made it messy very quickly.
Oh, why?
So we knew we wanted to have kids, and even though we hadn't been actually together as a couple for only a short time, and his mum and dad were so happy that we'd got together, so happy. Anyway, so we'd said to Rue's mum, and so in Japan, you're not allowed to have kids before marriage. Yeah, it's a big thing. Even though in our Western culture and religions, whatever. But it's sort of softened, isn't it? It's getting, it's almost becoming normal that you could have kids or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, but in Japan, there's actually sort of more legalities around kids before marriage and past relationships and whose kids is what and whatever. So there's rules around timings and that sort of thing, which we didn't know about. Yeah. So, and I actually don't think Rue's mum was so sure about it or whatever, because in Japan, even being on a second marriage is frowned upon.
Yeah, okay.
So you called a times one. Like they actually have a term, batsu ichi, and it's a bus as in dun dun.
Yeah, shit.
Yeah. So batsu is like that dun dun, and then you get a one next to you. So you've done a one thing wrong.
Yeah, but Rue wasn't married.
No,
only
so
you
me,
were. Okay.
yeah. So for me to be accepted in their family, as a batsu ichi, was one thing, and I'm white.
Yeah,
like was another thing. But I spoke Japanese, I understood the culture and whatever. Anyway. So we were together, everything's perfect, and we'd already said we want to get married and we want to have kids. And it was so perfect, just beautiful. Yeah. Anyway, so we said to Rue's mum, like, we want to get married and we want to have kids. Anyway, she sort of said, having kids, like your sister had problem getting pregnant and whatever. So like, if it happens, it happens. Like, don't be careful sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so like 3 weeks later, we're like,
shit.
Mom. You said we could, so we did.
Yeah.
She's like,
oh, shit. Yeah.
That wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah.
You guys need to get married really quickly.
Yeah. Oh, so did you?
No, so we had Toma first.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we had Toma first, and then we got married in Japan traditionally.
Oh, beautiful.
At a heritage listed shrine.
Yeah.
That a white person had never been married at before.
Okay. So because they weren't allowed to, or
I think they'd never approved it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think Mum teed up with the authorities. Not
what you know, it's who you know, right?
And Rue's mum is one of 7 girls, which is also very unusual in Japan.
Yeah.
So they're quite well known in the area. So she teed up that we were going to have this wedding in this heritage listed shrine. Anyway, she didn't tell me because she knew I was shy. But when I turned up, there was people everywhere, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of people. And she's like, yeah, there's a lot of people. And I'm in a kimono. Yeah. I'll share a wedding photo.
I was like, wait, I have to see this.
Yeah, I will share a wedding photo. And I was like, wow, Mum, like, and I speak Japanese. So I was like, Mum, like, there's a lot of people here. She's like, yeah.
What?
Anyway, the newspaper was there. The television was there.
What?
Photographers, all with these
because
mugs.
you were the first white woman to get married at this shrine.
Anyway, so we got married, and then I had an interview on the television.
Oh my
and this and that.
gosh.
I was shitting myself. I'm in this beautiful kimono.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was the most beautiful experience ever. I will share some photos. But so we got married in a heritage listed, but we had to go through a bit of a rigmarole around our first child, because the rules in Australia is when you get divorced, you have to be separated and living separate for at least 12 months before you can put divorce papers through, right?
Right, yeah.
So, so it could take a good couple of years for your divorce to actually go through. Anyway, so my divorce papers actually went through, I think it was 3 weeks before I had my first child with Rue.
Right.
Like, because it'd taken time and then whatever. So even though there was no crossover of relationship, because of the timing of what happens here in Australia to actually get the divorce through the court system
officially
and official, and I had to go to the courts in Brisbane fully pregnant and go, I am just about to pop.
Yeah.
And if I have this child before these divorce papers go through, this child is assumed to be his.
Yeah.
Like, horrible.
Yeah,
right?
This is my nightmare.
This is an absolute nightmare. So we got the divorce papers through. Anyway, it ended up we had to, and my eldest boy doesn't know this yet. We'll tell him. But we had to actually end up getting like DNA tests and everything for the Japanese side of it, because they get things done very quickly. If you divorce, you just get divorced. Yeah. And everything's done very quickly. So they couldn't make sense of why I was only just getting divorced before I had a baby, even though it was years.
Okay.
So the rules contradict each other. So then when we had Toma, I had to prove that he was Rue's child.
Oh, shit. Yeah, wow.
And it sounds so messy, but it actually wasn't.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I was really pregnant, so stressed that my child was going to be someone else's child.
Even though you knew fully. Isn't it crazy how your mind can go like that? Like sometimes,
crazy. Even though it wasn't actually messy at all, clean cut, there was years in between, but because of the papers and the logistics and legals behind of it, so we had to then go to Japan, and we actually had swab DNA testing and everything done to prove that Toma was, and so that I could put Toma on their family history.
Yeah, wow.
Through the
Oh, Toma. This is how it all started, Nate. You could just give this to him and go, here.
This is for your episode, whatever it is, for your 18th birthday, by the way.
Yeah, this is what happened. Oh, wow. Okay, and then so your middle child, so you're going to have to, what's his name? Issa. How long after did Issa come?
So we got married when Toma was 6 months old.
Yeah, okay.
So Toma was a baby at our wedding, which is actually super special, and he loves that he's in our wedding photos.
Yeah.
So I'm actually super happy about that.
I think it's more common.
So sweet.
It's common now, though.
Yeah, he loves that he's in those photos.
Yeah.
So there's actually only 20 months between each of the boys.
Yeah.
So they're quite close together. Yeah. So only a year after, and then I got pregnant. And then, so they were all planned, and that's the way it went. But
beautiful. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Look, I had in my mind, I wasn't like I didn't think about how you and Rue met, but I didn't think it would be that way.
That exciting.
I thought for some reason I thought you met Rue in Japan. This is in my own mind. I had no facts. I was like, I just assumed it would have been you, growing up in a small town, wanting to get out and see the world. Because I feel like when you're in a small town, you either stay in the small town or you get the fuck out and you see the world. So I just thought you may have met Rue on travels.
That's pretty much what happened, but it was when I came back from Japan. So I studied Japanese, and as I said, I speak Japanese and write and read and whatever. But I studied a little bit of Japanese in high school, and went on exchange, and that's when I fell in love with Japan. And then when I went to uni, so I grew up down south, like Sydney way. At that time, many years ago, the only unis that offered a double degree of business and Japanese language linguistics was Sunshine Coast, and I think Canberra, and one other. And I was like, I ain't going to the cold, I'm going to the warm. So I packed my car and drove up here, and I did a double degree in Japanese language and business. So for the Japanese, to get the entire degree in Japanese, I had to do 12 months in a Japanese university. So I went to Japan and spent 12 months and studied in university over there for 12 months. And then I stayed there for an extra 6 months just working and whatever. And that's when I met
your first husband. Okay.
But that's where the connection to Japan and the language and everything started.
So what made you, what was the fascination with Japan? Like, what was it that made you go around going to do that?
You know what, I don't know. I think it was like the language,
I get it. If I had my time again.
They're just so lovely. I really, really loved that. But like my mum will laugh when she hears this, because I had always said, I am never marrying a Japanese man. So male dominating, blah, 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 like really stereotypical. And I said it so adamantly. And now I am like the luckiest woman in the world, have the most amazing husband, and he's Japanese.
Oh, look, if you've never been to Japan, we've never experienced Japanese culture. It's one of my, like I said, it's one of my favorite places in the world.
I just love it.
I love the culture. I love it. You know what? The first thing that I recognized when I first went over was the conservative, like just how conservative the people are. And I just loved it. I thought it was just so beautiful to witness. I don't know. I think just growing up in Western society, you just expose the bloody everything. And, you know, and people are quite selfish.
you know, in who they, and you know, each their own. But when you go in Japan, I just like, yeah, it's just a different
just
world.
The little things like on the train and the bus, you know, there's seats for the elderly, and you're allowed to sit in those seats as a young person, but you know, you're supposed to, if someone gets on, could you imagine that happening here? They'd be like, oh, fuck that.
I mean, yeah,
You know,
like,
but in Japan, you see it. Like,
Yeah.
if they'll be like, oh, does anyone need? Like, I'm sitting here. So straight away, they're always on the hunt for who needs this seat more than me.
Yeah. In fact, it's quite common to hear, for example, like speaking of the train. So if you're sitting on the train and you left your mobile phone there, and you went to work, you could jump back on that same train 8 hours later and your phone would still be sitting at a spot.
Yeah,
if not,
or the driver would have it.
The driver would have it. That's just how honest and selfless like that their society is. It's just
really beautiful.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you want to bloody live there?
I just fell in love with it, like so much. And like even now we still talk about moving over there for a couple of years.
I was going to say, is there any temptation to move?
Absolutely. So we were actually going to move. We'd actually packed up our entire house, sold all of our belongings, and we were going to move to Japan just before COVID hit.
Yeah,
like we literally didn't even have a dining room table or a bed.
Yeah.
We were that close.
Yeah.
We were like booking, like we were ready to go.
Yeah.
And then when COVID hit, we were like, what should we do? Where do we want to be? Like, this doesn't look good. Looks like we're going to be, wherever we're going to be stuck there. So where should we be for the kids?
Yeah.
And we figured that we should be in an environment that they already know and feel safe and secure in. So we chose to stay.
Yeah.
So then we had to rebuild.
Like our dining table.
We were literally selling up everything.
Yeah.
We were ready to go.
Yeah.
So that is still definitely on the cards. We still talk about it. Timing ways, what should we do? And with my competing too, now we're saying, well, do we move to America for a couple of years?
Yeah.
Like that's definitely on the cards as well with my professional status.
Yeah.
So I think we do the next 12 months. And then, it is a possibility we'll talk about that, either Japan or America or whatever.
Mark, if you're watching this, it's Japan or the USA. Okay, we're going to wrap this up. Bye, guys. Thank you. We've learned so much. Yeah, I've learned so much about you in this episode. Crazy. Not what I expected
at all.
That
I'm a good little gal.
Yes, you are. All right, we'll catch you guys next time. Bye. Love you. Mwah. Ready?